You are now listening to Carly's Couch.
I'm Carly.
And I'm Lex.
In this podcast, we discuss a wide array of topics about life and how to live your best life.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Hope y'all enjoy.
We often suppress our feelings without even thinking about it. How can we retrain ourselves to honor our feelings and let ourselves experience them without just brushing them off?
Questions that need answers.
Man, we got millions of those.
Right, as usual. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Carly's Couch. Although she's not on a couch, this is Alexia's couch. Actually, damn, it ain't my couch neither.
This is Whitey's couch.
But don't worry about where I'm at. I don't know who. First of all, Whitey is. You got to have so much context to even mention her name.
Exactly. So see, it don't even matter.
No, real ones know. Half the listeners that know you know. But yeah, I am virtual today. I am in Dallas recording this, but I'll be back by the time you're listening to this, everybody. So hope you're having a good start to your week, whatever day you listen to this. And as Carly kind of gave the synopsis of what we're going to talk about today, I'm kind of excited or interested in this. I think it's weird, Carly, that I'm like 36 years old and it's like, oh, I have feelings. Oh, I don't know how to think about them or how to express them. It's so crazy, but like also it's so interesting and weird how it goes to show, like, as adults, like, you be thinking adults know what's going on and have it together by certain ages or whatever, and it's like, man, life is really just a whole process of unlearning, learning and unlearning. So I thought that was very interesting, but excited to talk about feelings and how to feel them.
Man, yeah. And that's funny because I always know I've had feelings, but I think that it's a skill that we're not taught to learn how to process them and to deal with them in healthy ways and to not let them build up or not to explode on people. It's like, it's an entire process. And I've always had all the feelings, so that's not new, but figuring out how to process and deal with them is. And it blows me how our parents had kids. They had us when they were our age, and they had jobs and they were managing kids and feelings and trying to figure out who they were. And our generation is different because, like, a lot of us are still, single or not married or married and not have kids. And, we still have had a lot of time to get to know ourselves and to continue healing and growing. So I think it's very interesting, but I'm glad that these conversations are coming up because they're so necessary. And this is what allows us to break those generational curses and allows us to be like the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah. And I want to know too, like you said, you've always felt the feelings, and that you still learn to process them. But in my experience, it's not even like I'm all the way at square one with that, where it's not even about processing them. I don't acknowledge them a lot of times or know what they are or don't even let them slightly come above the surface at all. And so for me, it's more interesting too to think about, like, oh, is there, like, I literally will not know what they are. So sometimes if it's like, oh, how are you feeling? Which I told my partner, because I hate when people are like, what's wrong? And I'm like, man, nothing's wrong. And then it makes you have more of an attitude if you don't think something's wrong. But I realize, and it's interesting that he said this, like, yo, I'm more in tune with your feelings than you are. He's like, I know when something's wrong or off, but I'll get mad if he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, man, nothing's wrong. And it's like, why am I like not okay with something being wrong? Or I'll be like, nothing's wrong. And then I've told him to say, you know what, instead of asking me that, can you just be like, well, how do you feel? So it's always funny now. He'll be like, man, how do you feel? But now even when he says that, I'm like, damn, I don't know. But like the other day, kind of got into, it wasn't really like an argument, but it's like, man, how do you feel? And I was like, man, I don't know. And I started talking, but then the more it like got heated up. And I was like, yeah, and I forgot what it was. I was like, yeah, and you didn't clean up the blah, 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 blah. He's like, oh, so that's what's actually wrong. And I was like, oh, damn, I didn't even, in my head, when I had came in and saw the mess, I'm just making up a scenario because I don't remember what it was exactly. But when I saw the mess, I told myself, like, like in my head, I was like, man, I'll never clean stuff up. I was upset for real. But then I told myself, like, I shouldn't be upset about this. It's his house. Like, it's not my business. You can do whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like I'm telling myself not to feel that. But I have the outward, like, obvious attitude or whatever. So then it takes so long to even uncover that. And then for him to get upset now, to be like, man, you know, you could have just expressed it or said that, and you never want to talk about whatever. And I'm like, actually, I didn't even realize. Like, I need you to know, I didn't even realize I was for real upset about that, or like I was lying to myself, or I wasn't acknowledging. And it sounds crazy though. Like, I mean, not for real crazy, but I also understood, like, to another person that does sound wild. It's like, or you could have just said that. But in my head, I'm like, it actually took us like starting from A and then like starting to argue for me to realize like, oh, I actually was upset, more upset about that than I tried to act like or acknowledge. And then I had to explain that too. Like, you know what? I'm just realizing that, like, so maybe there is something where it's like when you're like, what's wrong or how do you feel? Um, Maybe even if it's something small, but it's something that's probably frustrating me. You know how guys be, is any little whatever thing, you be like, oh God, like for why? But it's like, okay, maybe I do need to be like, something's wrong, obviously. What is it? Like, what's bothering me? Instead of acting like, no, it's nothing.
Man,
Which I've told myself it is. And that, so that was like a long way of kind of saying like where I am, where I notice like I literally don't even know or acknowledge that I'm feeling the thing until it comes out. And it's like, oh man, now I'm actually recognizing that that's happening.
man. So just so you know, on both sides of the spectrum, like you know, have been suppressing feelings, you're not feeling them, or just recognizing it. I've always had them, but I'm in the same boat. So I was gonna say it's synchronistic. It's so synchronistic because I had a conversation with someone that I'm dating, and the other day, because he was like, "What's wrong?" I got an attitude. I was like, "Bro, nothing's wrong. Like I'm fine. Like leave me alone. Like I'm good." And he kept asking, and I was like, "Bro," he's like, "Are you sad about something?" And I was like, "Well, damn, maybe now." Like I started thinking, what could I be sad about? What am I not recognizing? And so we got into it, but we came out on the other side. It's like, how about you just tell me, I'm just feeling kind of off today. Or
Mm-hmm.
I have something going on. I don't know what it is. He was like, but that way I can know, you know, where you are and know how to move. He's like, because right now it's like, you know, I can tell something is different about you, but you don't know what it is yet to communicate that to me. And so that puts us like in a weird place. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I think that it's all of us here trying to learn how to feel our feelings and figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, I've progressed too to actually saying that. I'm like, you know what, something's just kind of off. But also, that's not news. Like, all right, I already knew that part. And it still feels like it's not adequate enough sometimes. Or it's like, you know, everybody communicates kind of differently. Some people, it's like, let me figure it out. Like for example, like if a kid is nervous or scared or something, like you ask like, what's wrong? They might be like, oh, I don't know. And then like they don't know what the fuck, how to explain
Yeah.
it. And sometimes that's how it feels. But then always later, I'm like, okay, boom, boom, boom. And for some people, they know and they can just say it. And maybe that's being more in tuned in the first place. I don't know if that's being more in tuned or just how you communicate or what, but everybody is kind of different with that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't think it's just being in tune because I would consider myself very in tune with my
Mm-hmm.
emotions, but sometimes I still get triggered by something and it takes me a minute to figure out what happened. It's like I feel
Uh-huh.
it, but it's like, oh, where did it come from? And that's what I'm trying to figure out because I don't ever want to, like, when
Uh-huh.
I share things, especially with a partner, like an intimate partner, I don't want it to like come off like, you know, I'm taking stuff out on them or them. Like I'm very like conscious about
Mm-hmm.
figuring my own stuff out, but I realize, you know, sharing it with somebody can help you get better at it. But what
Mm-hmm.
do you think
Well, let me
got us?
go ahead,
No,
because I
I
want
was
to say
gonna.
one other thing
Oh yeah, yeah. Go
regarding
ahead.
to that is that one thing I've also recognized, maybe within the last 6 months or I don't know, kind of recently, fairly recently in life, but one thing I recognize is that I often feel ashamed of having the feelings. Like if I'm upset at something they're doing, even if it's like, let's say they left a mess, they always leave a mess after they cook, but I feel ashamed for feeling some kind of way, like, damn, I shouldn't care about that. Or if you feel a little jealous, like you saw them liking something or doing something, and you feel a little, you know, you might have a little attitude, but it's like, damn,
Mm,
I feel ashamed. Like I don't want to admit or say like how I feel, and that's because, and I also don't want to acknowledge that I feel that because I feel like I shouldn't feel those things. So that's one of the things also that I notice where I might not want to talk about it because it's like I feel like I should be, you know, above that feeling or, you know, not be feeling it in the first place.
man, stop reading me. Yeah, I was just about to ask, and you answered it. Like, well, what do you think? You know, what are some reasons why? I mean, why we might suppress our emotions or
Mm-hmm.
not share? And I think that's a big one. So being ashamed of them, I also am like, I shouldn't care that he's on his phone right now, or I shouldn't care about
Mm-hmm.
this. And we talk ourselves into suppression of feelings. But what are some other reasons why you think we're not great at showing them, or why you might feel uncomfortable showing emotion?
I mean, I think most of it, probably like at least 80, 85% of it will come from like upbringing, and not even necessarily in a bad way, right? We're not saying like, oh, did your mom slap you every time you tried to, cry or something? It doesn't have to be that hardcore, because a lot of times I think we internalize our own version of like how we should be based off of just, the things we see them do or say. So for example, I think, one thing I heard from Natalie Lou's podcast, she was like, yeah, people who have a very obedience focused home training, where you kind of know, like, if your parents look at you a certain way, if they're like, hey, get it together, like you get it together. Um, and that could be like if you're fidgeting in church, or it could be if you're doing the wrong thing, or, moving around too much out in public and stuff. And, it's always one of those things, especially with Black families, also, where it's like, okay, we really need to have home training, right? Like when we're out in public, we need to be even extra tighter. Like it's always like them white kids running around all over the place, and even now we look around like, like they don't have no home training. But that home training, in air quotes for the people not listening, is like the obedience training from your parents, and it tells you almost like I need to be a certain way, and like I have to keep things together, or I need to, behave. Which, sure, that's nice. It is nice to behave, but I think in the interim, you also kind of are learning not to act out, not to show out, not to express. Um, and for sure, that's kind of with me. So it's not like my parents were like Nazis or anything about, tighten up and walking the line and stuff like that. But you do learn you need to keep it together and present in a certain way, in a calm way. And also could be for your safety with a lot of Black families as well.
Yep.
So between that and between needing to kind of show like you're not some barbarian or savage kids or whatever, I think we kind of grow up sometimes where we really like are suppressed a little bit, with just the freedom. Like I really should like see the white kid running around Walmart and be like, damn, he gets to live his life. Although you do also be like, damn, like they are not, they also need to sit down. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it's okay to like let your kid be a kid, and they're gonna act out. Like that's how they are. And I think there's a balance there that goes beyond just like, always like tighten up, and be a certain way.
Yeah, that makes me think about this lady I follow on social media, and she has like these very conscious conversations with her kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like when her daughter like was freaking out one time, she was like, instead of like yelling at her or spanking her or doing something, like pulled her to the side, like, how are you feeling? I'm angry. Okay, well, I need to let you know that you're in control of your mouth, and whatever you say to mommy, like that can hurt my feelings. So do you want to hurt me? She was like, no. Okay, well, how can we express our anger in a healthy way?
Yeah, you gotta
And I'm
have a
like,
whole lot of patience for that, to do actual good parenting. And I don't even know, because I get it, but also,
this kid run around like, oh. But yeah, to your point, I think so much of it is how we're raised and how we're socialized to be. Like, no talking in class. Like, no, you get in trouble. You get suspended. You get sent to after school detention if you in there acting out. If you get angry at somebody, we're not allowed safe spaces of expression. So it's like, no wonder we struggle with how to process emotions.
And even growing up, like because there was always those, like, again, air quote, bad kids in school. And to be able to also, like, as a kid, you may not know how to be expressed per se, but when you do act out, also you're just being condemned, and nobody's like really, really trying to dig deeper and help you like understand those things, right? And so now you grow up the whole time, and your life is acting out, or you move in a certain way where you've just never been acknowledged in a way to think about digging deeper or thinking about what's really going on or whatever. And it's usually always like something else going on, like, it's trouble at home or in different areas of their life, whatever. And so I think that pattern, whether it's that you express, but you keep getting like kind of shunned, or it's not expressing it in a different way that's not being acknowledged, and or if you just grow up knowing like, oh, let me keep it together, like both of those things are just teaching you throughout life to kind of suppress.
Yeah, and then it makes us uncomfortable whenever other people express their emotions. So
Oof, and that's me too. That's kind of one of the second things I learned, because it was maybe a while back, like maybe in therapy, like a few years ago, where I'm like, oh shit, I don't know how I feel, and I had to like really think about it. And now I'm realizing, like very recently, that I also feel some kind of way when other people express. And it's like, dang, why am I judging them? Or like, why do I think this is a bad thing? Like, and I learned that about myself. Like, oh, I think it's inappropriate. Maybe not necessarily bad, but I think it's inappropriate slash a bad thing when other people are like overly happy or like, damn, act like you've been here, or overly upset at something, like, damn, like, why are you letting other people get to you? And it's like, why am I the damn emotions police? Like, that's how it feels. And it's like, oh no, like, I'm glad I'm realizing this, because if I do have kids, which I'm really not pressed, but it's like, okay, that's probably the type of parenting that also brings another person who's like that, because you're always telling them like, yo, don't do that, or snap it together. And I realize like I'm that person now.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm okay with certain emotions like being expressed, but then I am the emotions police in my head on other stuff.
Hmm.
So I like just thinking about
Probably, and also if
scenarios.
you feel shame about some of yours, then that's also why it's like you feel like you want to tell somebody else, like, yo, you don't feel like that, or it's okay, or whatever.
And also, I've always been like what does Stacey Ann call me? She doesn't call me sensitive, but she calls me real time. Something about real time emotions. She was like, "You are the most real time emotions having person I've ever met in my life." Um,
Really?
but yeah, like because I'm sensitive. I'm a very
Mm-hmm.
sensitive person, but I've always been like made fun of that. So when I was little, like my cousins always like used to get on to me for having feelings and being that
Mm-hmm.
person and all that. So we just don't do that. So probably and me feeling like I have to keep it together and have to present a certain way, and then also getting teased and made fun of is like, now when I see other people doing it the same thing, it's like, pull it together, bro, like get it together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like inside I be
Mm-hmm.
sniffling and stuff
Yeah.
myself.
My partner hates, I always like want to say like he's emotional, but then when I say that, he gets emotional and it's like, man, it's not emotional. Like, I hate when people call us emotional and talk about cancers and stuff. And I hate when people call cancer emotional. We're not emotional. I'm just, what do you say? Not even passionate, but something else too. And he's like, emotions, people always use emotions to describe somebody in a negative way. So don't call me emotional. And I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not saying that it's negative, but like, look at you right now. Like, and it doesn't register. So I just don't say it anymore. Like, I just like, okay, you're being passionate right now or whatever. But it's like, I guess because also to him, and I guess in general, that's the reality of the situation, is that people view emotional as a not a good thing. And I know I do, right? Like, even if I looked at like old tweets and stuff, I talk about like, why are y'all so emotional? Or, like you really do see it as like not a good thing. So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, let me actually acknowledge that people do see it that way. But also when I'm saying that to him, I'm like, no, I'm just talking about like right now, the fact that I said those words and now you're like, oh, and I'm not necessarily as bad, but I could tell you like really feel the things. Um, but that's not a bad thing. Um, and I don't know how to like retrain myself exactly to get to there, but I definitely notice things now more where I'm aware like, oh, I'm trying to suppress somebody. It's easier for me to know I'm trying to suppress somebody else. Um, I've been with two different therapists. I just switched maybe in the last 4 or 5 months. And the other lady I'd been with for a while weekly, and then it took, it was like every other month or something, like every few months type thing. So it's not like I'm in there every week with her, or was, but I'd never felt moved in like a session or anything. And I think I'd only talked to my new one maybe 3 times. This might have been the second or third time I talked to her. And this is like the first time like in a session, I was like, dang, I'm about to cry. And like, I didn't want to talk, when you could tell if you say anything, it's going to be like, ugh. And so I was just like, we were just sitting there like, mm. But like my eyes are getting watery, my throat's getting all dry. And the fact that even in those times, I'm like, shit, like, damn, I do not want to like be crying. Like I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to feel like the sadness or the disappointment or whatever. And it's like, but I also felt like, I was like, damn, that was good though, because I've never actually got emotional in a session. But to do that was like, I actually had like, not had a breakthrough, but like I had actually connected some dots, and I was like, oh shit, like, and the way she talks to me is really like, I be feeling like she going through the same thing. She'd be like, yeah, I get that, me too. And I'm like, oh, like we both be having the same exact like problems. I'm like, oh, all right. And one time, like she be crying, or like, I could tell she's getting emotional more than me sometimes. But the fact that of it is like, it was just weird and interesting. Like, yeah, I've never done that. And I have not cried. Like the only person I have cried actually in front of my partner a few times. Like, I don't know why I don't care in that scenario, but it just feels bad. It feels weird. It feels out of control, maybe. So that may be a thing if you're a control person, going back to your question way back about like what keeps us suppressed. But I just think it's so interesting that like I will do anything it takes to not feel. Like if we're having a deep combo and I start to kind of feel like, oh, this might kind of make me feel some kind of way, I'll start fidgeting. I'll redirect the conversation. Like she'd be catching me like, oh, you start talking about something else. And it's like I want to avoid that because it just doesn't feel good or natural to me.
Man, but you're talking about you don't know how to retrain yourself. You're retraining yourself. First of all, shout out to your therapist. That's amazing. That you're,
Yeah, she's so
and shout out to
fire.
you. And
She's
shout out to
she's
you
so
for
much more
also
fire.
I'm glad you deserve. But also shout out to you for even being willing to face that and also going back, like recognizing that the fact that you were almost in tears was like a sign of growth. Like that's a
Well, I
good
ain't
thing.
been back since then yet, but
But you'll be back and it's okay. But even crying in front of your partner, I think that when people show their emotions and they're vulnerable, and they show their passions, because I'm the same way. I'm like, don't call, because I get called like angry or like upset a lot. And I'm like, no, I'm just passionate. Like when I'm passionate about something, I'm loud, I'm intense. It just is. And then be like, okay, well, you're coming across as angry. I'm like, no, I'm not angry at all. You just perceive me as
mm,
that. But you also have to be willing to whatever people think. But so I think ways to retrain yourself is awareness. Like you said, that's the first thing when you're
mm,
suppressing your own, but also suppressing other people. And then being willing to dive into that uncomfortability. Like you have to feel your feelings, but because you're new to
yeah, that's the
this,
part I haven't
it's going to
quite
take
done
time.
yet.
Yeah, and that's okay. And that's okay. Ain't no rush to do that. But I think it's important to recognize when we're suppressing ourselves. And for me, a big thing that I notice as I start to talk myself off that ledge, like if I'm really upset about something and I'm crying, I'm like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay. Everything happens for a reason. And I try to like make
Hmm.
myself look at the positive to not, so to avoid feeling the emotion. I'm like, oh, everything always works out in the end. I don't have to, it's
Hmm.
okay. And so I think that's a good check also with yourself. Like every time some terrible, sucky something just fucking sucks. Like you can't,
Yeah.
there's no way around it. Like something sucks. You got broken up with, you lost a client you really enjoy. You just had a terrible fucking day. Like one of those days when you walk out the door and your belt loop gets stuck on the door handle. Like
Yeah.
those kind of
You be like, God damn.
everything is worse. It's okay to just sit in that for a moment. And that's something that I'm learning. And like I said, I consider myself very well versed in feeling feelings. And even I like notice me trying to make it all better and like look at the sunny thing and not actually feel the feelings, which is the point of like meditation. They say like the first level
Hmm.
is like learning how to clear your head. The second level is learning how to sit in your shit and to feel
Hmm.
it.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. I think there's a few ways that we do what you're talking about, where it's like you try to like fast forward to where you think you should be, or to the positive and thinking positive. Whether that's there's a reason for everything. Oh man, that's probably for the best, or they probably wasn't going to end up working anyway, or it's like you tell yourself all those things, and it's okay to just be like, damn, like this does not feel good, regardless. And so now, what does that look like? Like, what does that look like to not just feel that, but like, and not necessarily process it either. Maybe it is feeling it. Like, what does that look like to be like, all right, I'm to first acknowledge I'm angry right now, and then what? Like,
Um, it can be different things. So let's just say like you're frustrated and upset. Like you're just like irritable. Like I would say to notice how it feels in your body. Like if you're just irritable and people are like, what's wrong? You're like, I don't, like in your head, I don't know, nothing, whatever. But if you're sitting with yourself
mm,
to recognize what you're feeling, and the feelings will actually helps me. We posted a long time ago, but it actually helps me try to figure out how I'm feeling because sometimes I don't know.
mm-hmm.
But then
That is
just
the
sitting
first
there,
good sign, because when you
yeah,
feel well, maybe
something.
yeah, like I always know I'm like, man, I'm not in a good mood, or I'm feeling off, and or I know how it kind of feels when I'm like trying to suppress it, like when you start getting like a little tight in the chest or some, dry throat or whatever, but I may not stop to think about it because I'm trying my best to already like avoid something. So
Mm-hmm.
now let's say you feel that in your body, or you feel kind of like, oh, something's a little off. Then
Mm-hmm.
what?
I would say just try to stay present with your body. So for example, let's say I was really sad about something, and all of a sudden I start noticing like, oh, I feel sad. So I identify that I feel sad. I'm like, man, I have a knot in my chest. Like, I feel like I'm about to start crying. And then my brain is like, but it's going to be okay. Stop that. Stop all of that
Mm.
chatter. Whenever your brain starts to try to just like get you out of it, either by like telling you it's going to be okay, or by starting to make up a scenario. Like, for example, have you ever felt sad and like not known why? Like, our brain will try to start to make stories. It's like, oh, well, somebody didn't call me back yesterday. So it's like we
Mm.
start to intellectualize our feelings. Like, oh, I feel like this because of X, or I feel like this because of Y. And that's another way of not feeling our feelings, which sounds crazy, but we get
Because you're trying to
feelings.
make too much sense of things.
Yes,
Oh yeah, I
exactly.
definitely do that because
That's
that's
what our
just
brain
almost
does.
similar to what have we talked about before? Where it's like you try to achieve your way through things. It's like
Mm-hmm,
if anything that's happening, you want to be able to explain it or like
mm-hmm.
make it make sense. That sounds kind of like also like kind of how he talks in like Untethered Soul, where it's like your body, your mind is constantly trying to make it make sense, and you can
Yeah.
either like do all this extra to like go around it, or it's like how can we actually just go right into it and
And
like let us feel it.
you know what's crazy is emotions scientifically only last for 90 seconds, typically.
Mm.
The whole feeling, what I mean by emotions is like anger, like tightness in your jaw, clench your fist, like tightness in your belly, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
feeling is, they typically last for 90 seconds. Our thoughts prolong them. Our
Mm-hmm.
thoughts can make us angry all day. Our thoughts can make us sad all day. And we typically start to intellectualize instead of just feeling the anger. So whenever you feel it, you can either try to make it make sense and have your brain latch onto thoughts and just could like hold this feeling in perpetuity, or you can just sit with your body, like really just feel like, man, I feel like I need to cry right now. And instead of like, oh, let me turn on Hulu or let me go run, like maybe you just need to cry for a second, and then that will be
Mm-hmm.
okay. And then your brain will be more clear to process whatever's
Uh-huh.
going on. But
I've
you
tried to
actually
do
have to
that
feel it
before,
in your body.
where it's like you kind
Yeah.
of try to let yourself. I mean, sometimes it's hard to like try to force yourself, but like I've tried to be like, damn, I don't feel good, and then like really just try to like let yourself cry or let yourself kind of like just do something. But then usually it's like 3 seconds later, maybe to your point, and it's like, yeah, all right.
But yeah, but the difference is, right?
Yeah,
So
all
if you give
right,
yourself
whatever.
that space, you might just be like, actually, I'm okay. Process it, let it go. As
Mm,
opposed to like trying to avoid it. And then now you're in a meeting and you're like upset or whatever's going on. It's like, give yourself that time. But the way to do that is to tune into your body, notice like where
mm-hmm.
the feeling is, notice how your breath feels, and just allow. We're not good at allowing our bodies to feel anything. Just
Yeah,
allow.
yeah. Carly has a kind of graphic in our notes today, and I guess this is kind of around where it says like redirect your mind away from trying to think the thoughts and like
Mm-hmm.
really like name and focus on the bodily sensations going on, and
Mm-hmm.
also like just breathing and like letting yourself feel them.
Yeah.
So like let yourself cry or like just whatever.
And so I saw this, a therapist had posted it. And I thought it was so interesting because I know I try to intellectualize my feelings and I want to be more conscious and allow my body to process them so I can actually let them go. Because if you let them go, then they will, like, if you allow yourself to feel, you'll let them go. If you don't, then they'll get
Mm-hmm.
stuck in your body. That's when you get stress knots in your neck, in your hips, in your shoulders. That's when you start to get a crick and you don't know where it came from. So I want to go through
Mm-hmm.
an example real quick with this little graphic. I'm not going to read it, but I'm going to try to go through an example. So let's say that you have a new partner that you're really, really excited about. And then like, one day it takes them a little bit too long to text back. And so you start to get really like anxious, and then you
Mm-hmm.
start to feel, this knot in your chest. We're going to go through it. So an unpleasant feeling arises. So you feel anxious. So your mind starts to try to explain why you feel anxious. Oh man, they haven't texted me back. My last person didn't text me back, and then they were cheating on me and this and this. So instead of doing that, stop. You notice that you feel a knot in your chest. You take your mind away from the thoughts of trying to explain why you have that knot or where the anxiety is coming from, and then just focus on your body. So think about, okay, my breath is really shallow. My chest is tight. My throat's a little dry. I'm a little jittery. I feel a little anxious. Oh, I had too much caffeine. No, come back to your body and notice how you're feeling. And then take a
Mm-hmm.
few moments just to breathe into that sensation. Maybe you put your hands on your chest and notice, okay, whenever I breathe a little deeper, it starts to go away. Oh man, it feels like I need to cry. Maybe you start to cry. You just spend that time with your body. You'll notice that your mind keeps on trying to go back to explaining
Mm-hmm.
away whatever's going on or to justifying your feelings or how dare he or she not text me back because I'm such a good person. Don't do that. Stay with your body just for a couple minutes. Take some deep breaths, feel it, let it exist, and then it'll go away.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't, then maybe you take some time to journal or you talk to your therapist or something
Um,
else.
and then actually that reminds me that after with that session, right? During the session, I was trying so hard to like not cry, and I didn't really, but of course my eyes got a little teary or whatever, and I was a little tight. But ooh, I remember that afterwards, I was like, you know what? I feel like I should just let myself cry. And after she was gone, and I was like, and then I like cried for a little bit. It was like 10 seconds probably, but like then it did feel so much better to like, all right, because I was really holding it in, like I was holding it in, and I was like, man, let me just go ahead and cry about this, and I just did, and I was like, oh, okay, that was like better, but still, I didn't want to, I wanted to be in my own privacy, I guess. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I didn't just like after the session, I knew I was like, let me debrief with myself versus like, all right, click out and I'm out and just keep moving. Um, because it was like things I thought about that had never crossed my mind before. So I was like, man, like I really want to like sit with this for a second. So I guess I am learning and retraining slowly.
And I'm so excited. I am too.
Slowly.
Like I said, and for someone who, and I figured it out. Stacey Ann calls me real time expressive
Oh yeah,
because
that's
your
funny.
girl be having all the feelings.
Real time expressive.
Mm-hmm.
RTE. That's funny.
Exactly. I am for sure
Um,
RTE.
do you
Yeah,
have
but I've
your
noticed.
oh go ahead. Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, no. What were you about to say?
I was gonna ask, are you using your phone to record or do you have your phone on you?
I'll have my phone.
So I just sent you this link to a tweet I was laughing at this morning. This little boy, this little baby was feeling all the feelings, but that made me think about like what we're going to talk about in this episode too. It's at the Thanksgiving table, but this little boy is like just saying what he's thankful for, and he's like, "Man, I'm thankful because we have it so good," and like he's really like crying, but like he's like, "Man, and sometimes I read books and it's bad and it's good for us," and he was like really like into it, and then people around the table were kind of like, "All right, bro, like it's not that deep," but it's so funny because I'm like, "Oh man, like imagine like the times when you're like, man, life is good or you feel good or whatever." To be able to like really be expressive with it. And I was just thinking about that, like, this baby, like he's feeling it for real. And that's not a bad thing. But you got to watch it when you have a second because it's
No.
funny. It's like just like basically this episode. Um,
He might be our picture.
right. But like so I've enjoyed this conversation, and I think it just kind of reminds me and helps me to be aware of like what to do. Like I guess even first like I'm making sure I let myself acknowledge it, but then what to do. So like for the listeners, things I would say like to take away and remember from all this is like like you do have feelings. And that may seem so elementary or whatever, but again, like sometimes it's we do just act like we don't, or like it's not cool too. So the next thing is it's okay to have them because we all do. And it's important to feel them because it really does. I think it blocks a level of being present in life also. And it blocks like a level of intimacy with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of blocks intimacy with other folks when you're not when you're not acknowledging your own self in those ways. So it is important to feel those feelings. And then for me, like where I'm at is just continuing to see, like, okay, making sure I know where am I, or like, what is this, what's going on, or that something is even going on. Um, and then just still working, I guess, on feeling it. Because I think I have started to notice that, like, when I do feel them, it really doesn't, it's not like a long thing.
Mm-mm.
Um, and then you can kind of move on too. So it's one of those maybe things where you just have to recognize like, oh, it's actually not that bad, or it's not, that deep. Um, versus you're avoiding a thing that you think is going to be something, and that's just makes it even more extra than it needs to be. So yeah, go ahead and feel it. That's what
Yeah.
we talk about today.
Feel all the feelings. And know that we're human, so you're going to have them, whether it's hormonal, whether it's life, whether it's whatever. Like you're gonna have feelings. I would say for people who already have all the feelings, like let go of the shame of having them and expressing them, and recognizing that, not expressing in a way that you want or that you're used to, like hiding your feelings, can block that intimacy for sure. Like I've noticed before, it's like, if I know I'm around people who don't really feel feelings like that, I'm not going to be as expressive, because
Mm.
unless it's Stacey Ann, unless,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable, but then I feel weird and I'm like, they're
Mm-hmm.
judging me. And then it becomes this weird thing. So like, even
Mm-hmm.
that, just notice that we all have feelings. Everybody does in the
Mm-hmm.
world, and to take time to express them. I'll put the little graphic in the show notes. So if you want to practice, you can do that. I know that I'm still trying to get in touch with myself and feeling my feelings, and actually like expressing them. And I'm doing better about communicating with, a partner about where I
Mm-hmm.
am in space, and allowing myself to be vulnerable with them too. So feel all the feelings. Hit us up
Mm-hmm.
at Carly's Couch. Let us know how you're feeling, and how you're working on feeling those feelings this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, leave us 5 stars, leave a review. Let us know how you like the show, what you learned from the show, what you want to see from the show. And do we have a shout out this week?
We do. So this week's shout out is Alayo waist beads. And it's an ancient practice for the modern girl. I was gifted a couple sets of waist beads, and I went, and it was this very beautiful experience. The woman, and I do not remember her name, but I'll link her website and her Instagram so y'all can support her. She talks about the history of the tradition coming from Africa, what it means. She hands out like information on all the chakras and the different colors and the stones and what those mean, and how it can be a practice for both weight management and energy healing. And I just thought it was such a cool experience. I've made my own waist beads before, and done that with some friends and
Mm-hmm.
have like a little waist bead party, but it was something cool about going to a place, to a woman who's dedicated her life to this, and
Mm-hmm.
to sharing this with women, which is really beautiful. So definitely check her out if you're in LA. But I think she also ships. So even if you're not here, I think she can also ship waist beads too.
And then that means you have to put them on yourself, I guess.
I think someone else will put them on, but she'll probably include like instructions on how to do it, or
Mm-hmm.
like a video. Like her stuff was like, her website's nice, like all those things. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, check that
yeah.
out in the show notes. And then this week's question of the week, Carly, what's the most unusual thing that you've ever eaten?
um, I would say a roasted ant from Colombia.
Mm.
So whenever I was in undergrad, one of my TAs, he was Colombian, and he came back from Colombia, and he was like, I brought you all a delicacy from Colombia. And we were like, okay, cool. What is it? He was like, you got to tell me if you're going to eat it first or not before I waste it. He's like, because these are expensive. Bro, that ant, if you're watching the video, that joint was like that big.
I about to say it had to be big, huh?
Yeah, it was a big ass ant.
Like
Like
that's the length or that's how
that's
tall?
the height. That's the height. That joint was like
Ew.
that big. And he was probably like that wide, like equidistant. But he poured a whole bunch in my hand. I was like, oh God. So I just tried them. Like, but they kind of taste like roasted peanuts. Like, have you ever had like
It
a
was
burnt
like a
peanut?
freeze dried or like I had stuff on it.
No, it was like they seasoned them mugs, tossed them in a thing, and popped
Mm.
them in the oven or whatever, and roasted them whole. They're like
Mm.
roasted peanuts. But they kind of taste. There was like how peanuts have the crunch. The ants
Mm.
didn't have the on the inside. It was just the outside, kind of weird. It was weird, but
Probably had no
yeah.
nutritional value really though either, huh?
I mean, maybe a little bit of like a sprinkle of protein.
Interesting.
What
For
about you?
me, I would say
I know
sheep
it sounds
eyeball
good.
soup. When I was in Romania when I was 16, like 2001, and we were going to like different people's houses who lived there, and they were just like feeding us, and it was just like, man, I'm gonna just have to eat whatever they giving me. And it was this soup, and I was like stirring it, and I was like, it was like eyeballs, and there was sheep eyeballs in it. It was just really weird, but it wasn't bad. It's just
I'm gonna say,
weird.
was it good?
I remember the broth was good, but I don't really even remember eating like the eyeballs like that. But also, like in the Bahamas, we have sheep tongue soup, but that's different because like the texture is just weird because it literally is like a tongue,
Oh, I
like
about to. I've
pieces of
had
tongue.
lingua, like beef
Mm,
in the Philippines. My dad did that to me. He like it
that's
made me
probably
try something
that's
before
probably
he told me
similar.
what it was. It was beef tongue.
So like having it chopped up, but like the eyeballs was like, eh. And then I'm pulling a Carly, I guess, because also in Romania I had like
Ha!
cow brains. I ate cow brains at a restaurant also, but that like none of this stuff was bad really. It's just different.
Okay, man. Actually, I'm gonna be myself again. Cuy. Whenever I was in Peru, I had guinea pig.
Mm.
And
That's
no,
interesting.
it doesn't come out looking like a little guinea pig. It tastes like chicken, but
Mm-hmm.
it's, I guess they're larger guinea pigs, but yeah, like
And
little,
then
they look
like the
like,
pieces of meat.
mm-hmm,
Mm.
that's fine. But it's
Yeah.
like a delicacy there. It's like a thing.
Yeah.
CUI, kui,
And if you go to China, you eating everything. So
everything.
yeah, so I'm good on that. Because sometimes it's like, all right, y'all taking it a little too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the top things I could think of.
Yeah, I turned down a roasted scorpion whenever I was in Thailand, but not because it was a scorpion, but because I didn't want to get sick from street food because I had just gotten sick in
Yeah,
Vietnam. So I
right.
was like, I'm good.
Yeah, that's street food. That's how a lot of people get sick for sure. So listeners, let us know maybe something unusual that you've eaten. Again, we hope you appreciate it and enjoyed the episode. I did.
Me too.
And we will see you next week.